All right, good Sunday morning, everybody. It looks like we are live. So let's talk about the week 8 recap. Talk about the games a little bit. As little as I was able to check out all the games, I'm still going to talk about the results and everything, and where this leaves us now. Um, okay, so Oklahoma State and Texas. I I did get home in time to watch that game, and it looked like Texas was just pulling away and having their way with Oklahoma State. I go and run and grab some supplies. I guess you could say I went and got some bourbon, and I was gone for a little while. Ran a couple of errands. I came back and Oklahoma State won that game. I'm like, what? Um, so what am I going to say about the Texas Oklahoma State game? So as far as Texas goes, and I'm kind of gathering this from some of my friends in a private chat, and I'm going to go with this. I don't think they're quite ready. They're not completely back. I think they're a little inexperienced, a little bit. You know, they've got lots of freshmen and sophomores on the offensive line. As talented as they are, they still have basically a freshman quarterback who's never played on the road. Well, yesterday was his first chance, and he does it at Oklahoma State, where they've got the paddles and the noise and the crowd, and I'm sure that crowd was into it yesterday. Um, so I don't know. Maybe they just got a little bit rattled. Another common sentiment that I gathered from these friends of mine is that for whatever reason, it seems like Sark comes out with this incredible offensive game plan in the first half, and it never carries over to the second half. You can go through pretty much every game, and I think you'll see the same result. The loss to Texas Tech. Texas got to a big lead, couldn't sustain it. Alabama, they got the lead and played very well, and then sputtered in the second half. Granted, they had a backup quarterback who was limping all over the place, but that just feels like a common sentiment to me. I'll tell you this much: they look dangerous as hell next year, and they're still a very formidable team this year. So, hello to our 3 watchers right now. If y'all want, leave a comment. Maybe tell me who you are so I can respond to y'all. Okay, so we have a final score 41-34. Oklahoma State held them off at the end. They had a couple of chances to try to take that game back and just couldn't do it. The Oklahoma State's defense held Texas. And 41-34, that's a lot of points considering the fact that I think both of them have formidable defenses. Scott Baylor King, there you go. You're watching through Facebook. I can see that. That's awesome. I say that's awesome because you obviously hit that blue link that grants permission to StreamYard to show your profile picture and your name. Awesome, man. I've been trying to get other people to do that too. It makes it's a lot less confusing if I want to respond to somebody instead of having to guess who they are. All right, Texas is start fast but no break. 7 losses for Sark when he had a double-digit lead. Also, I believe Bijan will be NFL bound after this year. Yes, absolutely. That's the one thing that will hurt them next year. I got a like. Wow, I didn't know I could do all this. Somebody hit like on there, and it's showing me that somebody hit like on the video. Texas Tech finally won. Guns up. I don't know who this is, but yeah, I haven't gotten that game yet. Boy, did they freaking win. Let's I feel like I've discussed Oklahoma State and Texas as about as well as I could. I tried to watch it and kind of missed when the game became a game. So Texas Tech, they welcome in West Virginia and spanked the crap out of them, man. 48-10. Dominated them. So when I try to give West Virginia credit for being a good team, being a talented team, they beat Baylor. But then when I talk about how inexperienced they are, well, they proved that against Tech yesterday. Their defense is among the worst in the Big 12 right now. A lot of turnover there. So yeah, I didn't get to watch a second of this game. 48-10 is incredibly dominating. I do believe Texas Tech is expecting to have Tyler Shafak. Okay, Texas Tech finally won, guns up, and just to let me know who it is, this is your handsome uncle. I don't have a handsome one. The only one I know is some dude named Curie. So I'm confused. Do I have more family members than I'm not realizing? Hmm. Yeah, I mean, nobody would describe Kiri as handsome. Not even Kiri would say that. Um, hey, while you're listening, man, we need to hook up and do a Baylor versus Texas Tech preview today, if possible. If you can make that happen, I want to get that knocked out today, so there's plenty of time for people to check out the video before the game next week. Okay, so anyway, Texas Tech versus West Virginia. What I wanted to say, I believe that they're anticipating getting Tyler Schaff back, but they have. I think I'm right about this. I think they have a true freshman quarterback, Hunter Barons. I hope I'm saying that right. Morton Barons, Hunter. Man, the name escapes me right now, but it's not Donovan Smith. Donovan Smith came in to relief of this true freshman quarterback. I think I'm right about him being a true freshman. But the kid is super impressive, and I've seen some hype videos on him about how he can also be the real deal. So my point is, if Tyler Schaff comes back, is he going to be the starter? Probably due to experience, but they've got a kid that they're really impressed with. Maybe it's just that he hasn't been figured out yet, or who knows? Maybe he's the real deal and he's not the type that's going to get figured out. Maybe we've got another superstar quarterback at Tech, and McGuire, man, he's got his kids pumped up. Texas Tech is 4-3 now, but still they seem resurgent. They seem like a much better team that believes in themselves than last year. And I've got them moving up in the rankings. 48-10 is dominating over West Virginia. Didn't get to watch a second of the game, but what else are you supposed to say about 48-10? All right, so let me move on to one of our last two games. Let's go with Baylor versus Kansas. I didn't get to watch a second of the game, man. I had to work. I didn't get off until 2:30. The game was already over. I didn't want to check in on the score and everything, but I just couldn't help it. So I guess right before halftime, I kind of peeked at the score on my phone. It was 21-3. So I was like, yeah, I shouldn't have checked. And I don't have to worry about this game. Baylor's going to destroy them. And then they let it become a game. Let me check out these comments real quick before I go on. Sorry, I got a text message. Scott Baylor King, West Virginia have to get ready for TCU because TCU is a good team, though they have knocked some quarterbacks along the way. Yeah, that's a good point for me to talk about. They got a good coach now. I'm going to assume this is Kiri, and I'm going to assume you're talking about Texas Tech and Joey McGuire. Yeah, it certainly looks that way. I wanted to hold off before I gave him any praise just because he came from Baylor didn't, in my mind, solidify that he was just going to automatically have Baylor results, as far as Baylor winning the Big 12 last season. But what am I supposed to say? He's absolutely looking impressive. He really is. Yeah, I don't think y'all are going to want to get rid of the guy, and he's very enthusiastic, very good recruiter. He's the type of coach that the kids absolutely love and gravitate towards. Very dynamic. Just got to learn. I just got to learn. Can a former high school coach, former coordinator, take it to that next level and be a great head coach? Aranda had troubles his first year adjusting from becoming a coordinator to the head guy, to where he had so much responsibility and wasn't used to the grind of having to do interviews here, there, and everywhere, and talk to boosters and do this and that and still coach. So he had to figure his way out. Same thing Joey McGuire is going to have to do. But at this point, looking very impressive. I'm going to go back to Scott Baylor King's comment here. West Virginia have to get ready for TCU because TCU is a good team, though they have knocked some quarterbacks along the way. Yeah, so I saw a post about that, and I saw a private discussion about that. I didn't quite realize that, but 4 Big 12 opponents and 4 quarterbacks knocked out. It sounds bad. Is it a coincidence, or are they targeting them on purpose? I I don't feel like they are. It could to me just be a it could just be a more of a coincidence because I just feel like it'd be like national news if there was 4 questionable hits in a row. I think there'd be more of a national outcry about that. Just my thoughts. But I guess we'll see. If it happens again, then I think you'll hear about it on ESPN and Fox and just everywhere, and they'll say, "Hey, something's up here." I don't know. I'd have to really watch the games to gather a better opinion on that. I would like to think they're not doing that. I mean, they don't have that punk Gary Patterson there anymore. I could see that out of Gary Patterson. I have no respect for the man. I just don't. I think he's a substandard human. Good coach, substandard human. But anyway, glad he's not a head coach anymore in the Big 12, and hopefully he never will be again. I'll let that go. Okay, so we're talking about Baylor and Kansas. Okay, so I didn't get to watch the game. They let it become a game. Still, I consider Kansas a dangerous opponent. I can sit there and say, well, we should have done better against a backup quarterback, but it's not like he's just a backup quarterback without experience. He was their starter last year until Jalen Daniels came in and just kind of electrified the situation and just took over. Rightfully so. He's a dynamic quarterback. Reminds me a lot of RG3 with less arm talent than RG3. Jalen Daniels, that is. So now you've got Jason Beam, and he's formidable as well. That's a crazy thing to think about. Kansas having one good quarterback. Apparently, they have 2. So 35-28 against a good, just barely good Kansas team this year, which is saying something for them, is good enough. But the problem is that it should have been at like 28-3 at halftime. And there was 2 interceptions, one kind of on the quarterback, one kind of on the receiver, and even you could almost put the second one on Blake Shapen as well, because he threw it in such a tight window, maybe caught his receiver off guard in a crowded territory. So maybe even that one's on him as well. But they held on. But they let Kansas get back into it when really they were just dominating it. And here's what was weird to me. Okay, so the last 2 games prior to this, Blake Shapen's passing really showed out, and he was starting to show it to everybody exactly why we let Gary Bohannon go, because he is the superior quarterback and can give us a dynamic passing game, a great passing game. He can. We don't have the proven receivers yet, but my point is this. So, he balls against Oklahoma State, even though we lost. He balls against who did we play last week? I forget our opponent last week. Had another great game. Oh yeah, before he got knocked out, had 296 yards in the first half, 326 before he left early in the third quarter. Their opponent was West Virginia. We lost that game too, but I believe had he stayed healthy, he was dominating that defense and just throwing it wherever he wanted to. So what's different to me this time is our leading receiver was Hal Presley, who very little of y'all know. And he was our leading receiver with 3 catches for 39 yards. So the passing game wasn't there. All of a sudden we jumped to a running game, a rushing attack with 2 of our running backs injured. So now you've got Quaylon Jones, who apparently we don't trust enough to make a starter and have starters amount of carries. So you give it to Richard Reese, a true freshman, who I'm going to pat myself on the back. Have I not told you every single interview? Watch out for Richard Reese. Watch out for this kid. Look out. You will know his name by the end of the season. And lo and behold, he gets 31 carries, 186 yards, 6 yards carry, 2 touchdowns. The man is a beast. He has a very great chance before he leaves Baylor of being another Heisman contender. I'm going to say it until he proves me wrong. The kid is absolutely legit. So it's weird that we were sort of transforming into this passing attack and finally showing out and finally starting to attack and make our offense unpredictable, and then all of a sudden we just jump straight to a rushing attack again. I don't know. Maybe something happened to the game that I didn't see. As I said, I didn't get to see the game. Let me get caught up on some of these comments right here. Okay. Scott Baylor King. It's probably a coincidence on knocking out quarterbacks, but does raise an eyebrow, especially if it happens more. Thus, I agree. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's hard though. I mean, four teams, 4 times. My goodness, man. That's hard to say. I guess I would have to do some better research to come up with a better answer there. That, absolutely, as you said, raises some eyebrows. I got to kind of wonder about that. I just feel like if it was just dirty cheating targeting, I think we might have heard something more nationally about it by now. But I haven't heard a peep about it, and I didn't know anything about any quarterbacks getting knocked out until it was brought up in our Facebook group and in my private chat. Like, man, this seems to keep happening over and over. So I don't know. I'll keep an eye on it from now on, obviously. A fumble hurts too, besides the pick by Shapen. I thought there was a fumble too. I couldn't remember. I just had to watch the highlights when I got home yesterday. I thought there was a fumble too. Can you remind me who the fumble was by? Was it a running back again? Was it a wide receiver? Oh, no. I do remember Blake Shapen fumbled. Yeah, and that was almost ran in for a touchdown. I'm surprised it wasn't. Yeah, it was things like that that made it into a much closer game than it should have been. We just weird interceptions, weird fumbles, and that's the second. I won't call that a questionable fumble because I've seen that type of fumble plenty of times. But that fumble against West Virginia was just a little bit weird. He held the ball in one hand as he's scrambling, hits his thigh, comes out, guy picks it up and scoops it in for a 65-yard touchdown. That one was a little kind of quirky. This one was something I've seen many times before, but it turned what should have been a blowout into a tighter game than necessary. So let me see here. It was so windy at the Baylor game with 17-mile-per-hour winds and a wind gust over 22 miles per hour. There you go. I don't know if I think you may have put that up before. I was sitting there saying, I don't know why they abandoned the passing game. Makes a lot of sense now. I didn't think about that. I didn't get to go to the game. I remember it being a little bit windy when I got off work. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And that's pretty impressive if you can just go back and forth. Okay, well, we need to be a passing game. We need to be a passing team. All right, let's go do that. Okay, we need to be a running team. Let's go do that. Okay, we can do either or. Let's go do that. That's pretty impressive. That shows a lot of adaptation. That's very cool. And to be able to have a dominating running game with 2 backup running backs, one who barely plays, and then Richard Reese, our true freshman. Man, that's just all the more impressive. So kudos to Baylor. It's a good victory, but with those mistakes, those unnecessary mistakes, you could have lost that game. Absolutely could have lost that game to Kansas. Your homecoming, and Kansas isn't as bad as they used to be, but you shouldn't be losing to them. You should absolutely be a better team than Kansas. You have more talent up and down the roster. You just do. So 35-28 isn't impressive enough, but a victory is a victory, and we will take it. We'll absolutely take it. It's better than losing. Okay, so last game. Got a 10-point victory. Kansas State came into TCU and lost by 10, 38-28. Yeah, so we talked about the quarterback situation, whether it's dirty hits or targeting. I don't have enough of an opinion on that. I don't have enough evidence to make an opinion on that yet. What I'll tell you is this. So TCU came out, I want to say on their first drive and immediately down 7-0. And I was like, okay, well, they seem to have an answer to Kansas State's defense. So it's going to be a blowout, right? And then Kansas State storms back. I missed when exactly Adrian Martinez got hurt. I texted Cody Lunow, Kansas State fan, because I'm like, watching the computer, and then I'm watching the game. The game's on mute, so I didn't hear anything. and I'm doing my thing on the computer, and I look up and I'm like, wait a minute, why is Adrian Martinez, kind of limping towards the locker room? What's going on there? So I texted Cody Luna and I said, hey, why is Will Howard playing quarterback? Did Martinez get hurt? He says, yeah, something about his ankle. Okay, so anyway, long story short, Kansas State just storms back. That 7-0 lead, became like 21-10 or something, 28-10, something to that effect. And then I'm like, okay, well, it's the TCU defense that's going to have the problems here. They have no answer for Will Howard, and he did well. Problem is that maybe the nervous excitement settled down for Will Howard, and then he was kind of in the moment and not ready. And TCU has a good defense. I believe they have a good defense this season. And if you get in the shootout with TCU, you're going to lose. And that's exactly what happened. TCU absolutely figured out Kansas State's defense. And if you have to call TCU anything, it's a good offensive team. With Sonny Dykes, they're point blank a good offensive team. I'll try to check into some of the stats and everything because I'm curious how they're looking. But when I did my midseason awards this week, I was shocked to see the numbers of Max Duggan, their backup quarterback. Even though he started before last year, he was their backup to Chandler Parsons when the season started. But Parsons got hurt in the first game, and Max Duggan hasn't missed a beat. The dude is a gamer with a good arm. Not a great arm, but a good arm. He's dangerous. Their offensive scheme is dangerous. They are a good offensive team and absolutely a force to be reckoned with. Are they a playoff team? Because I keep saying I don't think the Big 12 has one. Am I wrong about that? Is TCU a playoff team? Are they that good? The results seem to say they're absolutely that good. They dominated Oklahoma. Knocked the quarterback out of the game. But I think they were the first one to dominate Oklahoma, 55-24. I think I'm right about that score. Kansas State beat them, but TCU punked them. And they've had good results. They are our last undefeated team. They are the last undefeated team in conference play. They are 7-0, 4-0 in conference, and in the driver's seat for the title game. I'm going to do a separate video here later. I'm going to go through the scenarios of what it's going to take for every team to make that Big 12 title game. I think that'll be an interesting video. I think the time is right. There's enough evidence to kind of pick what looks like good scenarios for teams to make and everything. I think it's going to be pretty exciting, and even more so next week. I think we'll have a clearer definition or a clearer understanding of what's plausible, who can make it, who won't make it. Another comment from Scott Baylor King. Will Howard got hurt too, though he came back in. Yeah, I didn't know that. TCU hurt him too, man. All right. We need to get some restraining orders against TCU in regards to all the Big 12 quarterbacks. Obviously, they're targeting. We'll have to call the FBI on TCU. Interesting. So, yeah, maybe that played into Kansas State not being able to keep up that offense. I mentioned that maybe the stars got a little bit too bright for Will Howard, and maybe I'm just wrong about that. Maybe he was hurt. Okay. So that was the first chapter of this video. Been going on a while about that, and that's great. That just means that I'm being able to interact with y'all, which I think makes the videos much more entertaining. I don't think I want to just hear my voice all the time, and I can run out of opinions just like everyone else. So the first chapter of this is over. Did my recap on my thoughts on the games and everything. Got y'all's input as well. Secondly, I want to take a look at the standings with y'all. and we can talk about that a little bit, and then I'm going to get to the updated rankings, so that y'all will have a reason to yell at me. Okay, let's get this up here. Now let's make this full screen. Yeah, let's make this full screen so y'all can see this a little better. Okay, so as I said, 4-0 in conference, 7-0 overall. The only undefeated team left. We got TCU at the top by a mile. They seem to be heads and above everybody else right now. 7-game winning streak. Okay, followed by Oklahoma State, 3-1, 6-1 overall. Kansas State, 3-1, 5-2 overall. Texas, 3-2, 5-3 overall. Texas Tech, 2-2, 4-3 overall. Baylor, the same, 2-2, 4-3 overall. Kansas is now 2-3, 5-3 overall. Oklahoma is 1-3, 4-3 overall. West Virginia 1-3, 3-4 overall. Iowa State 0-4, 3-4 overall. Iowa State goes undefeated in non-conference and then hasn't won a conference game. This may not look too dissimilar to my rankings. Let me see without giving anything away. Very, very similar. Yeah, yeah, I'd say extremely similar. You could just switch out a couple of things, and these pretty much mirror my Big 12 power rankings. And that's where we're at right now. If you want to say that there's a playoff team, it certainly looks like TCU and nobody else. Let me see. Oklahoma State's loss was to TCU. So, I mean, they could pull what Baylor did last year. Oklahoma State defeated Baylor, and then Baylor got revenge in the Big 12 title game. That could happen if these two meet in the title game. And then if that happens, you're talking about a highly ranked TCU team. And if that's Oklahoma State's only loss, then guess what? They have a great case to make the playoffs as well if they continue to stay at a one-loss team. But other than that, yeah, everybody else has 2 losses or 3 or more. So you're literally looking at only 2 options for the playoffs, TCU being that best option if they somehow make it undefeated this season. The only reason why I would like that is because fuck Gary Patterson. You fire him and then go undefeated. I would love that. I mean, I still want Baylor to beat TCU, but still, I would absolutely love that because I don't like Gary Patterson. I don't know if I've mentioned that before or not. Okay, so let us get back to power rankings, updated power rankings. Let's see. So I like to go from bottom to top. Let me get this lit back up. Okay, so let me see. Okay, so as volatile as the rankings have been over the past, this one is very stable. This one has 4 teams that have switched positions. One moved down 3, one moved up 3, one moved down 1, one moved up 1. Other than that, everybody is exactly where I had them last week. So to me, this conference is starting to make more sense. Let's start at the bottom. Staying in last place, I've got Iowa State. Came off of a bye, but still, they haven't won a game in conference. They're 3-4 overall. They look the least impressive. They just don't have the offense to go with their defense. If they had an offense, they would be absolutely dangerous. But they're not ready yet. They have a new quarterback that they're trying to break in, and they've got one incredible wide receiver. And just those 2 alone have the numbers passing wise through the roof. He has the most passing yards in the Big 12, and that shocked me. But they're not ready yet. They have a hurt running back, and they're just not quite there yet. Not this year. Maybe next year, but they don't have it figured out this year, and I don't think there's enough time for them to suddenly become a good offensive team. So they may stay at the bottom for the remainder of the year. We'll have to see how the season plays out. Dropping 3, because of a beatdown by Texas Tech, West Virginia drops 3. I've got them back down to 9th place. They moved up after beating Baylor, but, just got humiliated against Texas Tech on the road. So I've got West Virginia dropping back down to 9. Also coming off of a bye, we've got Oklahoma. I'm going to keep them in 8th place at 4-3. They had a good victory last week against Kansas, but just overall, they've got more to prove. I don't think they're there yet. I don't think you can judge Brett Venables by this season. I think you have to judge him by next season. Way too much turnover. This is not exactly what I expected, but I did expect a drop off from Oklahoma this year. Kansas, I have them in 7th place. 7, yeah, in 7th place at 5-3. So I didn't move them after the loss to Baylor, but it's just kind of where they're at. They're middle of the pack, which for them is an incredible improvement to be middle of the pack instead of at the bottom. They will not finish at the bottom this year. It's not going to happen. It's been a long time since we could say that. Moving up 3 after beating down West Virginia, Texas Tech, I've moved them up to 6. Dominating performance, middle of the pack. Just at this point, I say middle of the pack, not lower middle of the pack, not higher middle of the pack, but exactly middle of the pack. And moving up to not moving up, but progressing to number 5. Who I have at number 5 is Baylor. So they both have the same records, 2-2 in conference, 4-3 overall. I think Baylor's more proven, and that's basically in regards to last year. But Texas Tech has proven themselves as well this year. Good opponents, good outcomes. They did beat Texas, and I don't know. They're pretty dangerous. We'll have to see. I'll be doing a preview on that game and all the games this upcoming week. I'm going to try and knock that out later today if possible. But that said, I've got Baylor at number 5. Staying at 4th place, I've got Kansas State after their loss to TCU, 38-28. And, if Adrian Martinez is absolutely hurt, we'll have to see. I've got someone telling me to check my text. Not a good time for that. See, I'm losing my train of thought. That's why it's not a good time for that. My point was going to be that Kent State could actually continue to slide if they actually have quarterback issues now. Yeah, that's absolutely possible. But at this point, I've still got them at number 4. I've got them above Baylor and Texas Tech. And I have to turn my phone off. Okay, dropping down 1. I've got Texas dropping down 1. So they dropped from 2 to 3. I still have Texas as the 3rd best team right now, just outside of the title game picture. And that's following a 7-point loss to Oklahoma State. It's still impressive enough to play well on the road against a good team, what we know to be a good team. But Oklahoma State was replacing a lot on defense. They still look good defensively, but they lost a lot. A lot of people to the NFL, lost their defensive coordinator, who was a stud. He's now at Ohio State. They brought in a new defensive coordinator that they like, but he's unproven with Oklahoma State. They're still looking good. So a 41-34 loss is not the end of the world. That's a good outcome. Moral victories don't count, but still. Turn your phone off, but sir, I'm having so much fun. I might have figured out who my one viewer is. Anyway, I'm getting distracted, and there's no way in hell I'm going to check my text messages right now, especially when I'm almost done with this video. All right, where was I at? Okay, so enough about number 3. I dropped Texas down 1. I moved Oklahoma State up 1. Fair enough, right? They just beat Texas. So Oklahoma State wins 41-34. We just talked about the game over and over ad nauseum. I've moved them back up to number 2. So we've got Oklahoma State at 6-1 now. Also in the driver's seat to make it to the Big 12 title game. And TCU stays at number 1. I think by far, how are you going to knock them? They look like the best team out there, man. So that's my top 10. To recap that, I'll go from top to bottom again. So I've got TCU at number 1. I've got Oklahoma State at number 2, Texas at number 3, Kansas State at number 4, Baylor at number 5, Texas Tech at number 6, Kansas at number 7, Oklahoma at number 8, West Virginia at number 9, and Iowa State University rounding out everything at number 10. I believe that's going to do it. I think those were the 3 topics that I wanted to do. I wanted to recap the games for y'all to the best of my ability. Wanted to kind of show y'all the standings and everything, and we'll see how that title picture plays out. Like I said, I'll try to knock out another video explaining that in full detail later today. I think I'll have some time to do that. And the last thing I wanted to do on here was update our power rankings. So I believe that's going to do it. I think that's all I had planned for this. I hope y'all enjoyed this. Thank y'all for the interaction. I will talk with y'all later. We'll try to knock out a video or 2 again today. And that's about it. Thank y'all for participating, and us Sick'em Bears.